So tonight we're going to go through sleep wellness, and kind of the big picture with the workshop tonight is I don't want to go through the same kind of stuff that you'd expect to see everywhere, and it's not going to sell you a bunch of vitamins and all that, but rather, kind of the points that you might have missed elsewhere. And you can pull up how to sleep better anywhere, but I want to cover the things that aren't common, the things that you might not pay attention to, one of those little tidbits that you walk home and you're like, oh crap, I need to change that. That's what we're really looking for, okay? So sleep wellness, how, that phrase in itself, literally, if you don't sleep, you're not well. That's the gist behind it. You just can't function if you don't have a good pattern down. But there's so many misconceptions around sleep too that we kind of have to get to the basics of that to start with. So if you even look up the definition of sleep, the number one definition says a condition of the body and mind such as that which typically recurs for several hours every night in which the nervous system is relatively inactive, the eyes closed, the postural muscles relax, and consciousness practically suspended. So I just wanted to pull that up because I want you to see that even the definition of sleep is completely and totally wrong. I mean, we're so far off on the science behind this. I mean, look at this. With the nervous system is relatively inactive. Are you kidding me? That is so dramatically wrong I can't even tell you. To think that your brain is inactive during sleep is a joke. Your brain is in many ways more active than while you're actually awake. The science shows this. It's more active because, your body is, jump down here to the bottom, it's repairing, it's reorganizing, it's recharging, and a whole lot more while you're asleep. These things that you don't do while you're awake. To say that's inactive is basically saying that, in a sense, sleep is pretty much unnecessary. It's just an action that just happens, but you're inactive, it's not really, it really doesn't matter if it occurs or not. But you spend up to 30 years of your life sleeping. I mean, if you live to 120 years old and you're sleeping on average 8 hours a night, just conventional wisdom, that's 30 years of your life that you're spending sleeping. Yet it's, really not all that important. It's not all that necessary. And the answer to that, if it's that unnecessary that your nervous system is inactive, try not sleeping for a week and see how well that does for you. Right? Not good. I mean, your body literally will fall apart within a week. So, another way of looking at this that's pretty cool is living bodies are the world's only self-generating batteries. I mean, think about the technology that goes into batteries. Did anybody see the company Tesla that makes electric cars? They just released a home battery system that's going to be, they say is going to revolutionize the power industry. And it's this big, huge battery that is about the size of this wall that for like $3,500, you put it on your wall and it will collect solar energy up, enough to power a household to where you can be completely off the grid from that point forward. Pretty cool stuff, but you still have to charge it. Your body is the only self-generating, living bodies are self-generating batteries. They recharge themselves every night. It's pretty incredible stuff. So, we've got to look at that. And the second thing too, and consciousness practically suspended. Well, yes and no. It's your aware consciousness is suspended, but does anybody in here dream? Okay, so if your consciousness is suspended, what in the world is a dream? Right? Because last time you had a dream, that was you, right? It wasn't some other body. Mark Twain didn't take over your body and dream for you. Your consciousness is active in ways that we can't even. Science is turning this stuff over. That they actually have done. They've done studies where they started asking people questions, that they could answer while they were awake, and then they told them it was okay to go to sleep, and they kept on asking them questions, and they would ask these questions while the person was asleep. And by brain scan, they could tell that the patient was continuing to answer the questions correctly based on their brainwave patterns, even though they weren't conscious. So your brain is conscious in a number of ways that we can't even explain yet. I think it's pretty remarkable that it just goes to show you how much we don't know about neuroscience. We have not even tapped the surface, and yet, we act as if we're geniuses in regard to how the body functions. It's a joke. So sleep is kind of like the last vestige of showing that we're really clueless when it all comes down to how the body works, because it's a miracle that goes behind it. So how do we screw it up so much? First of all, how much sleep do I need? It's 8 hours, right? Exclamation point, period, right? Like, that's it. It's the answer is 8. But wait, it's 7, or it's 7.5. Unless you're a teenager, teenagers, you need more, and babies sleep a lot more than that. And when you get older, you don't need to sleep. You see, we're all screwed up. Where did the 8 come from? And where the 8 came from is literally that we looked at all the information that was available and tried to come up with a consensus and something that's easy to just tell everybody that's easy. And when you come up with the number 8, it's easy to tell everybody you need 8, kind of like telling everybody that they need to drink 8 glasses of water a day, right? Well, how can you say that it's 8 glasses of water a day when one person is this body size and lives in Arizona, and this person is a different body size and lives in Sicily? I mean, you can't compare things. You can't come up with standards, and that is really the truth for anything in healthcare. Is standards rarely ever work. It really comes down to it's got to be about the individual. So how long does it take you to fall asleep? This is a good question. This is a good initial question on how much sleep you need. How long does it take you to fall asleep? Who in here falls asleep within 15 minutes of hitting the pillow? Pretty quickly, okay? Who in here, it takes about half an hour? Or more? Okay, an hour? Okay. So if it takes you a long time to get to sleep, that is typically an indication that you might need a little bit less sleep than somebody who just hits the pillow and crash. They're just out just like that. Or it can just mean that you're completely off your cycle too, that you've got to get your pattern back set. How often do you wake up early? Meaning that you wake up at, say, 5 o'clock in the morning and you can't get back to sleep. Or, some people, they wake up, they go to bed at 8 o'clock and they wake up at midnight and they can't go back to sleep until 2 o'clock in the morning. Is anybody in that category where they wake up in the middle of the night? This is really interesting. They've done studies where there was a TED Talk on this, where they took people, and you've heard, where they do this. They take them and they put them into a confined environment where they have no access to the sunlight at all. And what they find is, they basically give people free reign to work and do whatever they want to do, without any regard for what the time is. They don't have a watch, they don't have sunlight, they don't have anything. They just have to go based on how they feel. And what they found is that consistently people's times would push back by about 15 minutes a day. Like, it would get 15 minutes off of that 24-hour cycle every day that they couldn't see the sun. But they would go to bed on average at 8 o'clock, wake up at midnight, do stuff for another 2 hours, then go back to bed around 2 and stay awake and stay asleep for another 4 to 6 hours, depending on, I think they said it was 4 hours from noon or from 2 o'clock until 6 o'clock in the morning. So they would sleep for 4 hours, get up for 2, then sleep for another 4. That's pretty wild, when you don't have access to the sun, that's what happens. Do you feel tired during the day? Do you wake up and do you feel sluggish, like you can't get about and everything? If you feel fine and you're on 5 hours of sleep, then you may not need more than that. You may be outside. See, what I'm pointing out here is that not everybody needs 8 hours of sleep. But how many people get screwed up simply because they've been told 8 and they only get 6 hours of sleep? And they get frustrated because they're going to bed and they lay there for an hour and then they wake up early and everything. But if you feel fine during the day, maybe it's time to recheck the rule, because the rule just may not work for you. Does that make sense? Okay. Is your mind sharp with a good memory? That's another one too. Do you have a problem remembering things? Is your memory pretty sharp? If your memory is pretty sharp, then that's one of the basic initial indications that you're getting enough sleep. But if it's sluggish, if it's dull, if you have a hard time, keeping trains of thought and poor judgment, like you step off of things wrong and issues like that, then then that means that your mind is working sluggish and it's not count it out that you're not on medications or substances or stuff like that make you not sharp, because that's a whole different workshop, right? So many people are on antidepressants and everything that are drugging their brains out and they can't stay focused. Okay, so the big picture here is that you see it's not 8. Okay, the answer is not 8 for anybody in here. You've got to determine what your time frame is, and the only way to know that is to get your pattern, which most of you probably already kind of have figured out, right? I mean, we've all kind of fallen into our patterns. Okay, who in here knows whose hair that is? Immediately, who is it? Donald Trump. Immediately. There's no question, okay? 1 to 3% of the population are able to thrive on as little as a few hours of sleep per night. One of them is Donald Trump. He actually is on record multiple times saying that, how can somebody that spends 6 to 8 hours a day sleeping compete with him in business, because he only sleeps 3 hours a day, right? They have this competitive advantage because they have many more hours of every day, right? I kind of joke about that, once in a while, in that, my idea of heaven is not having to sleep, because imagine how much more we could get done if we didn't have to sleep. That's a weird look on life, right? Most people are like, oh man, I don't want to do any more, but really, I mean, if you enjoy what you do, if you enjoy producing, if you enjoy work, why wouldn't we want to do more of it? Why wouldn't we want to have more time to do all these other things? So, slight twist on reality for you there. Some others that are famous for this: Martha Stewart. She sleeps, I think it said 3 to 4 hours a night. Benjamin Franklin, he was famous for this. He actually added in his autobiography that he only slept 2 to 3 hours a night. Look at what he did in his lifetime. Unbelievable. Nikola Tesla is one of the lightest sleepers of any of them. They said 1 to 2 hours a night is what they understood Nikola Tesla. Everybody know who he was? He's not is anymore, and he's definitely a was. He basically created the outlet. He was behind so many technologies in terms of electricity. It would blow your mind, yet nobody knows who he is. Who is Thomas Edison? Huh? Who was Thomas Edison?
He was an inventor.
He was an inventor. What did he invent?
Well, I'm not sure he invented the light bulb.
Electricity.
They say the light bulb. He was actually, I believe AC current was his, and DC was Nikola Tesla.
Oh, okay.
See, here's the deal. Everybody knows who Thomas Edison was. Look up Thomas Edison and look up Nikola Tesla. What you'll find, they were very closely intertwined. They were basically battling geniuses at the same time. But Thomas Edison had all the backing and support of all the bigwigs, because he was turning a business. Nikola Tesla was just a genius. I mean, he no doubt about it, he was more brilliant than Thomas Edison, but he made a lot of people mad, and he did not have the backing. So history has forgotten him for the most part, while Thomas Edison is everywhere. So it just goes to show how history works. But Thomas Edison also only slept about 3 to 4 hours a night, so that's how he was able to at least compete with Nikola Tesla. A much larger percentage function perfectly fine on 5 to 6 hours a night. Perfectly fine. Who in here does okay on 5 to 6 hours a night? Yeah. This is my typical schedule. Is I go to bed at midnight and I get up at 6 o'clock, 6:30, something like that, and I function just fine. I think I've got some energy, but however, I went for, when we were building this office, I went for about a year and a half, because it started with building this office for about 4 months. I was working, a regular day, go home and eat, get the boys in bed, and then get changed into construction clothes and come up here and work until, work with our crew until 2 o'clock in the morning, then go home exhausted, sleep for 4 hours, and get up at 6 and start the day over again. And I got in that habit for 4 months. Well, that carried over for almost a year and a half, because I got my schedule all messed up, right? And so for about a year and a half, I was only sleeping about 4 to 5 hours a night, and I got more gray hair in that year than I had. I mean, that's where gray hair started. So you can see how delicate that balance is. Well, 5 to 6 hours, I do fine on. I mean, I can do that all day long. 4 hours, it's not enough. So you've got to find what that natural rhythm is for you. So like it says, find what works. So what happens if you don't get enough? Okay? The complications of insomnia, you can see psychological, lower performance, slowed reaction time, risk of depression, risk of anxiety disorder, poor immune system function, overweight, obesity, high blood pressure, risk of heart disease, risk of diabetes. The early signs of sleep deprivation are fatigue. You feel tired, poor judgment, not able to make decisions. A lot of people get in accidents, and in fact, you look at all the incidents of like plane crashes and stuff like that, they always come back to, they find out that unless it's planned, of course, they find out that it's poor judgment because whoever was behind the helm, they weren't sleeping. They were fatigued, so they couldn't make those quick on the spot decisions that needed to be made. Fleeting memory and an intense desire to take a nap. Right? That's usually a good indication that you're tired, that you're in sleep deprivation, is you need to take a nap. Chronic insomnia is life-threatening both directly and indirectly. Like I said, directly in the causes of heart disease and diabetes and blood pressure issues and all of that, but the indirects are the things like driving cars, working heavy, operating heavy equipment. All those things that we do every day for a job. You're sluggish, you're tired, your mind is off, you're going to indirectly get hurt. So that's one. If you aren't sure if you were sleep deprived, ask someone very close to you. They'll be happy to know there's a valid reason you were being such a blank, whatever that word is you want to use. Right? So usually the people around you will be able to tell you when you're not sleeping, because they'll know that you're just off. That's the most common reason why people are angry and upset and everything else is when they're not sleeping, right? I mean, for most of you guys, it's either stress or sleep. Those are the two most common factors, and usually it's not necessarily the stress, it's that the stress is affecting your sleep, so you're not sleeping well, so then you start going off the cliff, right? Everybody agree? Okay. Unless you might not actually ever have that happen to you, so this is foreign language, right? I think we all have had our moments. So if I can't make it, can I fake it? Coffee is America's favorite sleep replacement, obviously. That's like the number one commodity in the world is coffee, even more than oil. So it's a big issue. Other caffeine sources, of course, count here as well. You are better off with coffee, though. I of course put Red Bar up there because we are part of the problem in that regard. I guess you could say that. But in all reality, coffee isn't necessarily bad for you, and there's a lot of benefits to caffeine. But it's when you thrive off of it, it's when you use it as a drug, that's when it's a problem. When you're using it to wake up in the morning, you're buying the coffee that has the highest caffeine content just because you've got to stay awake. You get to, you're drinking a pot at 6 o'clock in the morning to wake up, and then you're drinking another pot at 11 o'clock because you start crashing out again. You see, that's a problem. If you're just drinking coffee because you like it, different story. Other caffeine sources, of course, like drinking Red Bulls and Jolt and all that kind of stuff, whole different ballgame. That's not even natural caffeine. That's manufactured caffeine. So it's much more of a drug than what you can consider is in the coffee. And in fact, if you look into it, there's a lot of studies on that regard that they look at the difference between coffee caffeine and soda caffeine or these other stuff, they find that they have radically different effects. In fact, there was one study we had done a workshop at one point, and we talked about this, but where there's compounds in coffee that they believe actually modulate the effects of the caffeine. That when you don't have those in, for instance, soda, it gives you all the jitters and everything else a whole lot faster. So there's something about the coffee that actually counteracts the caffeine. Tobacco is another, as nicotine is a stimulant. A lot of people are addicted to cigarettes because every time they start hitting that little lull, they start craving that addiction, pop a cigarette in their mouth. Somehow think that vaping is better, right? But it's the same stuff. It's still the nicotine. Alcohol, decongestants. Can you believe people actually use decongestants as stimulants? They'll actually use medications to wake themselves up. It's the same thing. Have you heard about parents giving kids Benadryl to knock them out in the car and stuff? Like, that is crazy. Benadryl kills over 800 people a year. And yet they're giving it to them just to knock them out. Diuretics, antidepressants, appetite suppressants, amphetamines, those are the ADHD meds. They can also be used as stimulants. So all these things people use. In fact, amphetamines, these are now the street drugs. It used to be all the illegal drugs, but think about it. As a drug dealer, why would you take a risk of selling illegal drugs that you're going to go to prison for the rest of your life when you can sell legal drugs illegally but have a much lesser penalty? Think about that. That's who's going to bust you for handing your friend a Ritalin? Somehow our culture thinks that that's okay. That's not okay. But it happens.
If you experience difficulty sleeping, try Nesta. It's the sleep aid that will help you get the rest you need. Lunesta may not be for you if you have a fear of butterflies. But face it, if you're scared of a little butterfly, a sleep disorder is the least of your problems. The software is what you need. You should not take Lunesta if you sleep through an open window. Lunesta.
You guys saw who that was, right? That was Will Ferrell from Saturday Night Live. Awesome. So that is the truth. If advertising was true, that's what the drugs really make you do. They make you hallucinate. So if I can't make it, can I fake it with drugs? This picture is just amazing. He's laying on the pillow, completely drooling in a puddle here. You can have problems when you use them longer than 7 to 10 days. This was Mark Levy, an MD of internal medicine at MD Mercy Hospital. 7 to 10 days. Do you know how many medications there are like that are only supposed to be used for a number of weeks and that people use them indefinitely? Acid reflux medications are supposed to be used short term. There are a lot of painkillers like Lortabs. Lortabs, oh my gosh, you're only supposed to use those for I think the cap is, the cap is really short. And people take those, all the time, and it causes your liver to fail and kidneys to fail and everything else. This happens all the time, but these sleep medications, you're only supposed to use them for 7 to 10 days. That's what they're actually listed for. Yet, who uses them for only 7 to 10 days? And they know this, but the doctors are writing the prescriptions, so they're making it okay, right? Legal drug dealing. High doses of sleep pills can cause depressed breathing, which of course results in death, right? When you stop breathing, when you're not breathing enough, you die. But they can actually depress your system so much. Think about it. Let's say that a patient uses the medication and it's working initially, and then it stops working, and so they use more, and then that stops working, and they use more, and then they wake up in the middle of the night and they're tired and they're cranky, and they reach over and they grab a couple more and they pop them in their mouth, and they're dead by morning. Because it shuts off their system. Look at how many celebrities have died in the last 10 years because of overdose of medications. And, they're always antidepressants and sleep medications and pain medications. Always. Some drugs maintain. You think you're awake in the morning and you get up and you get in your car and you drive and you go wrecking your car because the drug's still in your system and you don't realize it. It's like drunk driving. Okay? Have you ever thought about that? Seriously, think about it. That every time you drive down the road, think how many people are taking medications that are mind-altering medications. Antidepressants, ADHD meds, sleep medications, doped up on painkillers. I mean, that's some scary stuff.
1 in 5.
1 in 5.
That's what the last statistic was, the last driver's school I went to.
Yeah, I mean, that's like scary. I mean, because you got a bunch of drugged up people that are behind the wheel of a 2,000-pound torpedo, right? Just waiting to have that momentary loss of judgment, and you're the target. Particularly, benzodiazepines, almost lost that word, can cause sleepwalking and amnesia. So you get up, make yourself a sandwich, beat the dog, and then can't remember any of it, right? And you're like, what happened with the dog and who was in my kitchen cooking?
What's
right?
some of the brand names of that?
What's some of the brand names? That's why I didn't list them on here because I didn't look them all up.
Okay.
I just let the category. They come out with so many.
I know it.
I can't keep up with it. I mean, it's like you know what my habit is. And of course I like to speak honestly about this stuff. I don't know whatever drug out there is, and so when patients come in and they have their list of medications,
that's why we have PDRs.
I always ask the patient, what are you taking this medication for? I don't care if it's something that I think I know what it's for.
Right.
So many people take stuff for
Take it for something
other
else.
reasons. Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm taking this drug for weight loss. And it's like, what? That's not what that's for, but they're using it for off-label purposes. So, I mean, and it's like every month I see drugs that I didn't even know existed, that I've never heard the name of before. Sorry. The Journal of Hospital Medicine found that you were 4 times more likely to fall if you're taking sleep medications. What's the number one cause of death in the elderly? Falls. They break their hips. And it causes you to fall 4 times more likely. 2012 British Medical Journal found taking prescription sleeping pills caused increase in death rates in cancer. So, but hey, at least you're sleeping. Or at least that's what we call it when you're knocked out unconscious.
Permanently.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that we're confusing is we think that just because our eyes are shut and that we're unconscious, that's called sleeping, and that's perpetuated by things like MMA and boxing, putting people to sleep, right? No, that's called being knocked out, right? And it's the same thing when you take these drugs. You're getting knocked out, but it doesn't mean that your brain is actually your nerve system is doing what it's supposed to do. So, we've got the point being here. Think twice about the medications. These are not a good option. What about melatonin? This is a real popular one. Dr. Oz actually, I saw, did an entire show on melatonin. Talking about having experts on there talking about the dangers of taking it. It is a hormone. It's a hormone. Okay, I don't like messing with hormones. Hormones can get dangerous very quickly. Progesterone and estrogen and all that stuff, and injecting people with testosterone and everything else. It really gets into weird territory. It's released at night in healthy individuals. So your brain registers that the sun is going down and it starts to produce melatonin, okay? And you see that melatonin goes in cycles with cortisol. What does cortisol control? Blood sugar, okay? Light bulb's going off, right? Cortisol controls blood sugar. So do you think messing up your cortisol levels might mess up your melatonin levels? Absolutely. They go in cycles. They go in waves. How do you mess up your cortisol? Diet, right? It's blood sugar. So the effects of taking melatonin and what happens with people, because it's messed up and it's not working properly, the entire cycle, the way that your body is releasing it is not working, people take melatonin. They feel good initially. They sleep well the first night. Then after a while, after a few weeks, That's not working anymore. So they take 2. And they do that for a little bit longer. And then they take 3. And then they take 4. And then they can't fall asleep no matter what. And they're all over the board. And they have no cycle whatsoever. So this is the common problem that happens all the time. As you get to the point where your body just can't handle that much hormone, it starts causing side effects like headaches, nausea, dizziness, irritability. It becomes a crutch that you can't get off of easily until you just stop the whole process and let your body go through this painful process of reorder, right? Then we got another one, the continuous positive airway pressure, the CPAP device. How many people use a CPAP device? Okay, I have one comment on these. These are a fad crutch right now, but honestly, who wants to sleep as Darth Vader the rest of their life? Right? I mean, they're a fad item. I mean, everybody have you noticed? If I went to a sleep study, they would tell me that I fell asleep or that I woke up 18,000 times. Right? They tell everybody that. I haven't heard anybody that hasn't gone to a sleep study and come back with a normal report. Like, you could be drooling all over yourself 10 hours a night, and oh man, you stop sleeping like every 2 minutes, so here's a CPAP device. And you get to lay in bed like an elephant, right? A big old tube coming out. But what happens when the power goes out? What happens when you have no access to a CPAP device? Now your sleep is totally screwed up. It's just not normal, right? It's not natural. It doesn't fix a problem. It's a crutch. It's like you've got a thorn in the bottom of your foot, and because it hurts to walk on it, you grab a crutch, and you just start walking on that crutch from that point forward, and you never deal with the problem. Your foot gets all infected, you lose your foot, it goes gangrene, everything else, but you know what? You got your crutch. So just keep on walking on that thing, right? We've got to realize they're crutches, and they're making a fortune off of selling these things. I mean, they're handing them out to everybody. Everybody's got a CPAP machine. So I've been saying this for a long time, but they are a fad. It's at some point they're going to realize there's negative effects to this, and I mean there's already research on it, but it just hasn't caught up yet. So here's how you fix it. These are the things that you've got to look at. Just some of the very, very common things. Regulate your internal environment. First of all, dietary habits and blood sugar. How many times have we heard that, right? It's everything comes down to dietary habits and blood sugar that's somehow tied into it, that our diet is screwed up, and that's causing all kinds of negative effects. But when you fix your blood sugar, it regulates your cortisol levels, and that oftentimes will be the fix because it balances out with your melatonin release. So you get your cycle right because you're not messing up cortisol. Then the second thing, eliminate factors that may be altering your body's ability to regulate sleep. Meaning, get rid of caffeine, get rid of stimulants, get rid of the whiskey tonic, before you go to bed. Get rid of the, whatever it is. Get off the ADHD medications, the antidepressants. You got to look at all the factors that we've listed that have the potential, and don't just assume that, I can't get off of those, or that, I'm sure that's not what the problem is. You've got to eliminate all the factors, and then hopefully one of those will be the issue. Stress must be addressed because it can't be covered up or cheated. How many times have we learned that, right? We've got all these antidepressants being sold on the street, and sold, all these Americans taking them. Does it eliminate the factors that are causing the stress? Not at all. So we've got to look at what is the stress, and we've got to not become better stress managers, right? You ever heard that, or stress management courses? Like, I don't want to manage the stress. I want to get rid of the stress. So figure out what is causing the stress and do what is necessary to alter it. And if you put in a significant effort into changing those things, then you'll probably have some luck in getting rid of some of that stress, and that's going to make a big effect. Schedule must be consistent, well attended if you're prone to issues. So if you're prone to issues, but 3 nights a week you're staying up until 4 o'clock in the morning watching Netflix, or sitting on Facebook or YouTube or something like that, then you're gonna have problems getting in a pattern. So getting into a systematic regimen will help get your body online a lot quicker. Because it has that ability to restore a pattern. Those who don't have a problem sleeping, obviously don't have to worry about a schedule so much. The last thing, avoid fluoride. One of the things that it seems nobody is talking about, when you look at this, I could not believe I could find so little information on this. We know that melatonin is secreted by the pineal gland, but one interesting little factor that's not often connected is that we know fluoride causes calcification of the pineal gland. So fluoride that's in your tap water, that they put in there because it's an essential ingredient for strong, healthy teeth. Right. That's why the entire city of Seattle and many others have taken it out of their water. To give you the backdrop on this, the fluoride thing is a fallacy. Okay, it was a way that the aluminum production industry could take a product that they used to have to sell, like they used to have to pay millions of dollars to dispose of as toxic waste, and instead started selling it to municipal water supplies. And it's all based on junk science. And so still today, even here in Mobile, we still have fluoride being put into our water. We still have fluoride put in our toothpaste and everything else, even though it causes calcification of the pineal gland. Well, if the gland is calcified, how is your melatonin going to work? Yeah, yet you find very little information about this online. So make sure that you get rid of fluoride anywhere around you. Make sure it's not in your chewing gum. Make sure it's not in your toothpaste, in your water. Get rid of it. You have to have a water filter on your tap if you're drinking tap water. So, there's a number of other factors here, which we're going to go through more in external environment. This one's for you, Danielle. Darkness is critical. No artificial light. Okay. How many of you have light in your bedroom? That you can, if you wake up in the middle of the night, you can see where you're going. No? Okay, most of you are in pitch black. That's good. Okay, if you can see where you're going, it's too much light in the bedroom. Like, you've got to make it to where it is pitch black. You need to grab your cell phone or something in order to be able to see, which, realistically, you shouldn't be getting up in the middle of the night anyways. If you're getting up to urinate and all that stuff, then that's a whole other issue. But you want darkness. It has to be dark. Now, a part of this, don't just take that at face value of, I'm going to sit up in my full spectrum bulbs, and watch TV until midnight, and then I'm going to go in the room and floop, and the lights go out, and now it's pitch black. The light, you should regulate the light in your home with this in mind. Okay, so when it's daytime, have daylight bulbs. Like let's say, for example, in our ceiling, we've got lights like these, not like these. It's not commercial light bulbs, but we've got full spectrum bulbs, so that during the day we've got full spectrum light in the house. But then we've got a lamp back in the corner that's got a dusk light bulb in it. So it's still a full spectrum bulb, but it simulates dusk light. So at night, if we're going to watch a movie or something, we turn off the overhead lights and we turn on that light. So it helps. And then we've also got those lights in our bedroom too. So if wherever those lights are on, it kind of helps. Your brain thinks that it's dusk. It thinks the sun is going down, so your body can adjust accordingly, right? So you want to make sure that you're paying attention to the way that these lights work in your house, and that you're not sitting in front of a bright screen right before you're ready to go to bed at midnight or 1 o'clock. Ooh, there come the eyeballs, right? Second one, quiet is also best. Eliminate unnatural sound, like how many of you have an air conditioner sitting right outside of your bedroom, right on the other side of the wall? Unfortunately, they don't pay attention to this stuff when they build houses. They should have the air conditioning units on the opposite side of the house, away from the bedrooms. But it's not just that. It could be lamps out on the street. Have you ever had seen a lamp out on the street that just buzzes all night long? And or neighbors' dogs barking, stuff like that. All of those things are factors. So go shoot the dog, just do something to get it quiet, because that will interrupt your sleep also. And obviously joking there.
I know. How you feel like doing that?
You do feel like it sometimes. But think about sometimes people they'll download the apps that have the ambient sounds, and they'll play that thing, but that's unnatural sound still, so it still is disruptive, in terms of actual realized sleep. Next one, pets and children are best kept in their own beds, though I do recommend keeping your spouse. Your pets. See, this is why I don't like pets. Because I grew up with them kicking me in the face and pushing me off the bed, and they always end up in the middle of the bed, all sprawled out. But I found out that now my children do that instead. And I can't get rid of them. So pretty much every morning that we get to sleep in, all of them end up in the bed doing the exact same thing. Especially that's Oren's foot on my face, by the way. He's the one, he always likes to go sideways and kick you in the face. Avoid electronics, and by all means, get the TV out of the bedroom. That's one thing I never did, is having TVs in the bedroom. And people stay up watching TV until 12 o'clock. I mean, if the TV's in there, you ever stay in a hotel? And when you stay in a hotel, you turn on the TV because it's right there, and guess what happens? You end up watching the TV because it's right there. And then you end up staying up later than what you thought you were going to, because a show comes on that you want to watch. So every time we sleep in a hotel, we always end up staying up until like 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning because of the stupid TV, right? So it's like, get rid of the TV and get it out of the bedroom. It's not the place for that form of entertainment. Temperature should be cool, but not cold. Okay, you don't want it cold in there, you just want it cool. It shouldn't be 180 degrees in the bedroom, right? Science shows that you sleep better when it's cool, and obviously it's more comfortable because you can get under the sheets and everything as well. Is there a best bed on the market? We do recommend now. We've gone through multiple beds in the past, but this is by far the best bed that we can recommend at this point. Backstory on this: my son was needing my 6-year-old needed a new bed, and so we started looking around at all the different beds out there. And then Brad next door, he asked me if I'd ever heard about the IntelliBed. So I started looking into it, and it's one of those things, you see it first time, it's brilliant. It's just the technology behind it. It's like, oh, well, that makes sense. So the IntelliBed doesn't compress like foam. Can you grab the demo unit back there? See, a foam mattress, whatever kind of foam you have, even memory foam, it has to compress, right? So you get on top of it, and under the heavy spots, the Tempur-Pedic commercials, it has to compress underneath you. So the idea is the less the foam pushes back, the easier it is. But the cool thing about this stuff is you see that these columns are empty, right? So they're gel columns. This is the same stuff, you can actually see it there. This is the same stuff that they use to make baby pacifiers from. Okay, so it's just like a silicone material, and this stuff is literally almost indestructible. You can take this stuff and yank this thing apart, and it won't come apart. But see, as you put pressure on these, the columns actually buckle. So instead of compressing like foam, they completely buckle out of the way, and you're just moving air, right? It's not actually compressing underneath you. It's literally just moving out of the way. So there's no pushback force besides the gel itself. Does that make sense? So you get a lot better suspension on this than you get on a foam bed. Like I said, it's practically indestructible, so you don't have to flip the bed ever. How you have the mattresses and you have to turn the beds and flip them and all that. You don't have to do that with this. Tell me you're going to mess this up. You could drive a car over this 18,000 times and it's going to bounce right back to where it was. It's just gel. It's safe and sanitary. Like I said, they make baby pacifiers out of it, so you don't have to worry about that. It isn't hot like foam beds. That's huge down here. Up north, it might actually be a good idea to have a Tempur-Pedic or one of these other latex memory foam beds, because you need the extra warmth at night. It gets frigid up there, right? But down here, you ever sweat in bed because it gets so hot during the summer? This is like, it feels like sleeping on an air mattress. So we bought one for our 6-year-old, and we slept on it for something like 10 days. And the first thing you notice when you sleep on it is that it's cool, you know, because you literally have a pillow, a cushion of air underneath you. So it feels like an air mattress. It's just a whole lot more comfortable than an air mattress, right? It's similar in price to the Tempur-Pedic, but it has double the warranty. So a Tempur-Pedic bed has a 10-year warranty, which is kind of the standard in the industry. These have a 20-year warranty on them. So if you have to replace a bed every 10 years, you know, then, and you can extend that out to 20 years, you just cut the price in half, right? Yet the beds are approximately the same price. They're actually a little bit cheaper if you use, because I wanted a bed for my kid, and we're actually going to replace the other beds as well because we like these, and we might actually end up getting one as well. Although, I mean, our bed, there's nothing wrong with it. But, you know, with setting up an account to be able to buy it for us, we actually ended up getting an account to where all of our patients can save 10% off of them.
Hey, doctor.
Yes.
I think it's 30 years.
Yeah. That's
I
a
think the warranty's
30-year warranty.
'Cause we had
Pretty
this,
sure.
We had this argument, and I was right.
Are you kidding? It's 30 years? We'll verify that, but that's even better
Yeah.
because that's 3 times the bed now. So,
I mean, that just goes on top of the bed.
no. It's a whole bed. It's
That's
literally,
what I
this
thought.
is the construction of a bed here. It's got an outside shell, okay, and they have different styles, but this one here has the, it has the pocketed coils. So you can get the one that dampens movement because it has individual pocket springs. So if, you know, your spouse is on one side of the bed and you move over here, you don't disturb them because they're all individually pocketed springs. They got another one that has the typical laced inner spring, so it distributes the pressure, but you feel movement a little bit more. And then they've got either a soy-based foam or a latex foam. The latex obviously being the softer one as an option. That is the support layer foam that goes in here underneath the IntelliGel layer. And then the IntelliGel, this layer, which is exactly this thick, sits on top of the foam. So imagine the latex foam one. You've got a latex memory foam mattress like a Tempur-Pedic, but then you've got the IntelliGel over the top of it. So it compresses underneath, and then you've got the pillow top cover on top. Okay, so anyways, get on and watch some videos and stuff on this, because you can see if you take let's say you take a bowling ball or a shot ball or a bocce ball or something like that, and you set it on here without anything, it sinks into it because all the pressure is concentrated in one point, like a shoulder or like a hip. But if you take a book and you put it down on it and you set the bowling ball on top, it doesn't compress hardly at all because it distributes the force, so it's not enough to cause the columns to buckle. Does that make sense? So I mean, it's just brilliant. It's space agey stuff. So anyways, that's the mattress that we recommend now. And I don't see anything else on the market that tends to beat it. So if you're looking for a new bed, this is definitely worthy to look into, and we can give you more information on it. So does anybody have any questions?
I sleep with the fan
You sleep with a fan
right here.
right next to you. Okay, that would be a
Natural, huh?
ambient, not exactly ambient noise.
Gotta have it.
Just because you get too hot.
It drowns out sounds.
Right. I did that when I worked graveyard shift.
Really?
Block out all the sounds.
Like the neighbor's dogs next door and snoring wife and kids when they're up too late in the kitchen and
Okay. And I imagine you tried
I've
earplugs.
slept like that for years.
Yeah. And stuff like that, man. It's hard to if that's what you're used to doing. It's tough to get away from those kind of habits. And I mean, honestly, the question really is, do you sleep okay? I mean, even with that, do you sleep okay? You know, if you don't sleep okay, then you got to reevaluate. But I would say, I mean, if that's what you've been doing for 30 years and it's working for you, and you feel energetic all the time, and your mind is sharp and everything, and your memory is great, who cares? You know, keep doing it. It's not dangerous.
No.
You know, unless you happen to poke a finger out in the middle of the night, right? It's not dangerous. It's better than taking meds. Any other questions? Nope. All right. Well, if you have any individual questions that you just can't ask here, of course, you know, ask me afterwards. That's not a problem at all. Or email me. If you want any more information on the bed, if you're in the market for it, we'll grab you a pamphlet out front. Feel free to come and play with the gel. It's pretty fun to play with. If this one is taken, there's another one up front. You can play with that one instead. But please don't take it home with you.
It's not big enough.
Yeah. All right. Have a good night, guys.
All right,
Thank you.